Mon, you have been on a Kind Life podcast. This is going to be the third time now.
Third?
Yeah, because the first you told your story.
Yeah.
The second was our Project Unite when we did our walk, and now this is the third.
Holy crap. I'm like a regular.
You're a return guest. Because you've recently done something that has changed your life. Which was kind of unexpected for you, as many things are. So I want people to know exactly what happened. So let's maybe rewind and start about how you went to Africa.
Yeah, okay. So it's such a long-winded story, but I guess the idea of going to Africa was not in my plans this year. And as you'll know, I started this year asking this question: what would you do if you knew you had a year to live? And at the time I was doing this YouTube series where I was going around asking just random people and people I knew that question, like, what would you do if you knew you had a year to live? And it was just interesting hearing people's answers because they were so different. Some people had really simple things, other people had, more complex things. But I found myself with some people going, I could actually help you make this happen. So there was a few instances where we made a few things happen locally, and then we ended up taking an 80-year-old woman skydiving as well because her dream was to go skydiving. She'd never been before. So I guess in a way I was kind of like making a name for myself for being this person in Geelong that was making shit happen. But then it wasn't until I met this one woman, Kerri, randomly down at the waterfront, and I didn't actually get a chance to speak to her at the beach because I went down to do some filming at this group event, and I saw her like looking at me, and we didn't get a chance to chat. But then she ended up following me when I went home, and she said to me, "I really wanted to talk to you about that question because I have a very different answer to what most people would have." So I'm intrigued. I'm thinking, I feel like I need to know more about this answer and your story. So we ended up catching up for coffee, and I said to her, so what would be your answer to the question? And she says, well, I actually had a daughter whose name was Lauren. She was 17 years old when she passed away during COVID because she had this really rare brain cancer. I don't know the name of it. I don't want to even try because I'll cook it. And yeah, she was 15 when she was diagnosed, and it came out of nowhere. Like, she didn't have any history of any kind of illnesses or anything like that. So it kind of blindsided the whole family and obviously Kerri. So she spent, the last 2 years of Lauren's life basically at home looking after her daughter. And then COVID obviously happened, which made it even harder. But Lauren actually taught her so much. And she said, what Lauren taught me was that every day is a blessing. And it kind of made me realize that life's too short. Life is literally too short. And she had a first-hand experience in that. So anyway, that first time we caught up, it was just more about like hearing her story, what she wanted to do. And she had this idea. I don't even know if I've told you about this. So initially what we were going to do was we were going to throw this massive fundraiser to raise money for brain cancer. And we spoke about it a little bit, and it just didn't feel right. I don't know. We were kind of like, yeah, we'll do it. And then I just thought, nah, there's something more to this. Like, I feel like I need to do something bigger for her. I just don't know what that is. And then it wasn't until we caught up the second time, she told me that I think it was her brother or Lauren's uncle and auntie, they had gone and ticked off one of the things on Lauren's bucket list. And I thought to myself, oh, she's left a bucket list. What was on the bucket list? So Kerri ended up telling me what was on the bucket list, and Lauren was obsessed with elephants. So one of the first things she wanted to do on that list was she wanted to go to Africa to see the elephants in the wild. And in my head, I'm like, that's the thing. I'm going to make that happen. Had no idea how. I just thought, that's it. I've got to make it happen. And with me, when I get fixated, as you will know, on something, nothing stops me. I'm just like, I need to make that thing happen. So I played it cool. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That's awesome. Hope that all happens for you one day. And then, I pretty much just went and reached out to a couple companies and like travel companies, and just wanted to see if anyone would listen to the story. Just because I thought it had real power to show people what this whole series was about, that life is too short. You need to start living now. And why are you waiting to go out and fulfill bucket lists? Like, try to do them now. So I ended up getting into contact with Intrepid Travel. I sent them this whole pitch pack and was basically like, I've met this woman at the start of the year. She's come out of nowhere. This is her story. This is her daughter's story. She has this bucket list that she really wanted to do before she passed away. Now Kerri kind of wants to go out and make the list happen. So I want to help that. So they came back to me and they're like, we love this so much. What we can do is we can send you to Sri Lanka. And I thought, oh, as long as there's elephants, I don't care. Send me anywhere. So Sri Lanka was originally the plan. We were meant to go for a week, see the elephants in the wild. They were going to take us on a tour. And I ended up telling Kerri live on my podcast when I had the Finally Found podcast. And within 2 days of telling her, oh my gosh, we're going on this epic adventure, yay, like all tears and everyone's happy, the country basically went into bankruptcy. And I was like, okay, not sure that we can go do this anymore. So I went back to Intrepid and I said, hey guys, are we still going to be able to do this? Like, is this still going to happen? Are we going to make this happen, or what's the go? And they came back to me and said, look, you can go. It's still okay to go at the moment. And I was like, I'm not sure about that. Or the other option is you go at the end of the year, but we just don't know what could happen between now. This was back in May as well. So there was still a while. We were supposed to be going in August. So anything could have happened. And I was like, I just don't know if I want to risk that and get her hyped up and excited and then nothing happens from it. And then they go, or the third option is we send you to Kenya. And I was like, Kenya, like Kenya in Africa, Kenya. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, why wasn't that option number one? Like, so anyway, I ended up telling Kerri again, I'm like, all right, change of plans. We're actually going to Kenya. And she was like, Africa. Yep, Africa. So that was pretty much how that all came about and how we ended up in Africa. And we went in August, and it was kind of from there. Like, I had no expectation, as you know, from the trip. For me, it was like, I'm taking Kerri. This is like Lauren's dream. I'm just so grateful that I get to go and see Africa, because it's always been on my list. I just never thought it was going to happen this year. But then there was just these series of events that just kept happening over there, where I started to realize maybe I was actually the one who was meant to be here. I started meeting all these people. I had weird little things happen to me while I was over there. Like, a woman in a village came up to me and she like grabbed my hand and she was like, you were always meant to be here. And I was like, lady, I don't know you, but I think that's fact. Like, I actually do believe I was meant to be here. And then, yeah, it wasn't until probably the 5th day in, we got taken to this eco camp where the entire camp was built by this woman whose name was Hellen. And we didn't know much about Hellen at all, except that she was part of the Masai Mara tribe. So there are 43 different tribes in Kenya. They all, as a country, follow Christianity, but every tribe has a different set of rules or laws, I guess you could say. So she was part of the Masai Mara tribe. And when we got there, I realized hard and fast, okay, I think I was actually meant to be here to meet this woman. So a bit about, do you want me to talk about her?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I do love that you definitely did say to me before you left, we caught up for coffee, and you said to me, oh, you know, because I said, are you excited you're going to Africa? And your response was kind of like, oh yeah, you know, like, I'm going along. Like, you weren't overly excited about it. You were sort of happy to go, but you're like, oh, this isn't for me. And I get that, because for you were really focusing on this was Kerri's, like, her journey. Yeah. And then it was incredible that, when you came back, it was like a total flip. It was like a full 180 where you're like, oh no, this was meant to be.
Well, it was interesting because what I would have said to you was, I didn't have any expectations going over there, because in my head, I didn't watch any vlogs. I didn't read up about it. I didn't even read the trip notes. I didn't know what we were going to be doing over there, because for me, all I kept telling myself was, I just want to experience something for the first time. Yeah. And I don't want to have other people's opinions taint what the experience could be like. Yeah. So going over there, it was more than just a culture shock, because it's so different over there to what we're used to here. And even hearing what some people were saying about how dangerous it is, and I'm sure, of course, there's going to be parts of the countries, of any country you go to, that are going to be dangerous. But that opinion that oh my God, don't talk to strangers because everybody is bad. I just didn't want to hear any of that because I thought that's a terrible opinion for someone who's never even been to the country or the continent to make a statement like that because of what you see on the news. So that was a big reason why it's not that I wasn't excited. I just was kind of like, I'm just going with it because anything could happen at this point if I just stay open. And I did. I went over with no expectation. I met the most incredible people, not just, within the villages, but the group we had were incredible as well. And I kept saying when I came back, you couldn't have written a better script for a movie for how everything panned out.
Yeah.
You just couldn't, because like I said, little things were happening on the trip that I might touch on later, that I came back and told people, and they were like, what is your life? Like, what do you mean that happened? And I'm like, I know, what is my life? So I think that's a really important point, like not having expectations when you either travel or go into things. It just kind of opens up this whole new world of possibility that you wouldn't have imagined had you just stayed kind of focused and tunnel visioned your way to that place or with that person. So yeah, it was a really, really cool experience.
Yeah, definitely. I would say with this expectations thing, that's something I've definitely learned from my friendship with you, is I used to have a lot of expectations around things, how things might go or how they might turn out. Yeah. And I learned that hard and fast on our 62K walk. And ever since then, very grateful, by the way. But ever since then, I don't go into things with expectations. And I think it's a really good way to be. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. So Hellen, talk to us about Hellen.
So Hellen, yeah, like I said, we had no idea what we were in for when we were traveling to Loiter Hills, is where the eco village is, or eco camp. And basically what the eco camp is that she built, it's a campsite where tourists from groups or just people passing by, when they're going to the Masai Mara to do like safaris and whatever, they have to pass through Loiter Hills. And she thought, well, a way to actually make money for the village is to build this campsite where people can stay a night or two or whatnot. And so she built the entire camp sustainably and only using resources that nature provided. So she doesn't even cut down the trees around the camp to build fences. She found these alternative plants that are so strong and sturdy that elephants can't even get through. So it's like little things like that where you just wouldn't think to try stuff like that. But it was like she knew the land so well that nothing could get past her, and she had a solution for everything. So it was really cool even seeing what she had built, because it wasn't, like people sometimes have this image in their head of like old cramped village where made out of like tin sheds. This was like done proper. You could have been in Bali at this point. So it was really interesting just seeing how her mind worked and her creativity. So that was just one thing. I was like, wow, this woman's incredible. She's so resourceful. She really understands her homeland. Amazing. And then it was like this onion that just kept peeling itself. And every time a layer came like away from who she was, it just blew my mind. But then we learned really quickly what happens within the community of the Masai Mara. So, like I said, there's 43 different tribes. Masai Mara tribe is one. And within their culture, they view women and girls as inferior. So they just don't see women having value. But women are the ones that do everything. They birth the children, they cook, they clean, they build the houses, because it's taboo for a male, so they believe, to get on the roof to build a house. So they do everything. And unfortunately, when a girl is anywhere between the ages of 9 to 13, she is generally mutilated, which means she's cut. Then she's sold off for 3 cows, because that's the Masai tribe's currency. And then she's basically sold off to an older man. So in Hellen's case, she was 9 when she had that happen to her. By the time she was 13, she was married off to a man who was 70. I think he already had wives and children. And in their culture, they're not allowed to get divorced, and they're not allowed to remarry. So basically, a girl who is 9 years old has had her fate decided for her. She's sold off for cows. She can no longer get an education. She's married by, 12, 13. She's probably got a child by the time she's 15. By the time she's 20, she could have 2 kids or 3 kids. And keep in mind, the husband, as he's getting older, is probably gonna die soon. So he passes away, and these girls are left with their children, no education, no skill set. They can't survive. They're struggling. So Hellen, having had that happen to her, her story takes this crazy twist when she's 13, she's married off, she runs away. And when she runs away, a Catholic nun finds her. And this Catholic nun, I'm not sure what her name is, she gives her an education. Takes her through to school, she does teacher training college, and she becomes a fully qualified teacher. And she pretty much had the option. She could have left her community. She could have gone to one of the main cities. She could have taught English. She could have, completely done something different with her life. She decided, I have been given this opportunity. I now need to go and do the same thing for the girls in my community, because also the mutilation was actually made illegal in 2011 in Kenya. So the government are against it. The government don't condone it. But the tribes, again, because they go under their own culture or set of laws and rules, they still do it. So girls still to this day and age, they're being traded and they're being cut. And so Hellen's movement that she started was, don't trade girls for cows, give them an education. And I mean, it makes complete sense, right? You trade a girl for 3 cows. They suffer so much drought over there. The cows will die, but the girl's left suffering. And the girl actually can't go back to her family, because what has to happen is the family have to then trade back. Oh, so it's like a Pokemon card game, but human beings. And it really shook me to the core, because I remember being in high school and we would have sister schools in countries like Africa or within Asia. And they would kind of tell you these things happen, but it was so you just can't wrap your head around it.
To see it and hear it firsthand.
Yeah, and so it kind of shook me, because I was like, wow, I have been completely naive this whole time, because this shit is still happening. Even though it's made illegal, this shit is still happening. And there's a lot of shitty things that are happening in the world. I'm not saying that this is the only bad thing. There are a lot of shitty things. But to be in a country where it was I wasn't even supposed to be there. Now I'm there having this experience. I'm meeting this woman. And I guess for me, what really kind of hit me hard, and this was kind of where I decided I need to do something, was, and I was saying this to a friend the other day actually, in this weird way, and I'm not saying that my experience is the same as what these young girls go through, but there was this part of me that kind of could really empathize with these girls, where I knew what it was like to have someone take something from you that you couldn't get back. A part of your soul has been taken from you and you cannot get that part back. You have to live with that for the rest of your life. And so it was interesting seeing Hellen, who, mind you, has the best sense of humor, the greatest personality. Despite everything she had been through, she did not let that trauma define what was going to happen next. And that was what blew me away, because I thought, I've never met somebody and had the opportunity to speak to somebody that has taken that terrible thing that's happened to her and used it for good. And completely changed the narrative. And not only the narrative, she's gone and she's taken that bad and that trauma and not just created a movement to change a community, but the entire fucking country. The government is now backing her to make this stop, to stop this trading of girls, to give them an education. So while she was teaching, the Kenyan government employed her, and she was going school to school whilst all this was still happening to these young girls. She was rescuing them. If she found out that a girl was about to get cut or traded and become a child bride, she would rescue them. And because she was doing that, her life was being threatened at the same time, because she's going against what the culture and the community believe, right? And so it kind of got to this point where she was like, you know what? I cannot do this being in other people's schools. I'm going to go start my own school. Literally, like out of nowhere, was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just going to go start my own school. I'm sure it was a bit like more harder than that. But with that can-do attitude. So then I think it was 2009, she started the Enkantang Leper School, which funnily enough means purple cow school. And when I asked her why purple cow, she said, have you ever seen a purple cow before? They're always black and white, but you don't see a purple cow. And I was like, you are so witty and clever. I love it. So yeah, she started that school where she started rescuing these girls, giving them board, giving them, clothing, education, building skill sets. A lot of the girls that started with her were actually within the community. They were now tour guides. And I think the important thing to note is she follows the Kenyan curriculum. So it's not like she started a school, gone rogue, and now she's teaching these kids whatever the hell she thinks is necessary. She's following an actual curriculum to get them into the pathways to go to university and, follow career paths. So she started that school, and she's got, I think, about 200 girls that actually attend the school. She messaged me the other day, actually, and she sent me a photo of this girl that she just rescued she was about to be cut as well. Like it's nearly 2023 and it's still happening. So once she started that school, then she started the Eco Village. Whilst she started the Eco Village, she also started a Widows Village, which we were also fortunate enough to go to. And so with the Widows Village, like I said before, when these girls become mothers and then they're widowed, they're not allowed to remarry. They're not allowed to go back to their families. They're left on their own, and they could have 3 children. So she takes in these women now, and she has all these programs where she teaches them how to make, jewelry and beaded bracelets that the tourists can come, they can purchase, and then the funds go towards the school, feeding the mums. So she's just thought of everything to make everything a closed loop, essentially, So everything that she does, it contributes to whether it's the mums and the kids or directly to the daughters. But whatever she touches, she's changing generational lineages, right? And that was what was incredible. It was like you stood for something that was seen as so wrong within your community. And despite all the hardships, despite all the challenges and the obstacles in a very, very male-dominated culture, you're still here standing, fighting for the exact same thing. And she will literally fight till her death for this cause. So when we got the opportunity to go to the Widows Village, we saw firsthand, the women making the jewellery. We spoke to some of the girls who'd actually gone to school, been rescued, gone to school, gone to uni, and now they've come back to their community to basically do the same thing that Hellen's done. Because as Hellen gets older as well, she's concerned that who's going to take over? Like, who's going to still keep this running? Because it can't just shut down. Too many girls now rely on this. And then the nursery school was something. She started a nursery school as well. Just another thing to add to the resume. But we weren't meant to go to the school, right? So we didn't get to go to the Enkantang school, which I believe is for the ages of like 9 to about 15 or 16, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But there was no room for the younger generation. And she believed it's the young kids that we need to educate, especially the boys, because the boys are the ones that grow up to be the men who continue these traditions and the cycle. Like, at what point does this cycle get broken? So she identified that as an issue, and so she started this nursery school. And the nursery school is also located where the Widows Village and the Eco Camp is. So it was all kind of in the close vicinity. When we actually drove in, you go past the school and all the kids are were outside like, oh my God, yay. Anyway, so we weren't meant to go to this school. They ended up taking us to the school. And I don't think my heart has broken in like 5 million ways all at once than it did seeing these kids in the classroom with not next to nothing, but compared to walking into a classroom here, it really like shook me. They were playing with these little counters. It was a maths class and they were learning numbers, and they were just like these round black ball things. And I'd asked one of the teachers, what are they using? And she goes, it's elephant poo. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, we use what's around. We just have to be resourceful. Sometimes we can't, whether it's afford, expensive equipment or resources. So we just have to make do. And, I think it's important to note that everything is relative. So this is all they've grown up with. This is all they know.
Yeah.
You couldn't take a child out of that environment and plonk them into a classroom here because they'd be like, what the hell? Yeah. And vice versa. But I think just seeing that sort of stuff firsthand as well, you can't see that stuff and then unsee it and unfeel it and then come home and just go about your day. I couldn't.
Yeah.
You knew how hard it was for me to come back home. I was for 3 or 4 weeks just like, I don't know how I'm supposed to just sit here and do nothing. So it was a really beautiful experience because just seeing the pure innocence and joy of a child in that form, in that environment, I don't have words for that. I actually couldn't even sit here and explain to you what that felt like because it was just pure. It was just like they were the happiest kids in the world because they were getting an education. Yeah. Because it was keeping them out of trouble. Because they got to go to a safe place, a safe environment and learn and hope. Like I think hope is the best way to explain it. What Hellen's been giving these kids is hope. And it's an interesting thing because the boys, they don't go to school because obviously they go and they work on the farms with the fathers and all that. She tells a story about how she actually started taking boys in because she wanted boys to come, but families were like, no, we don't want our sons to get an education. So someone had donated a well for water. And where she's located, there's nothing around, literally nothing. It takes a fair drive to get to where she is. Like some of these kids are walking 3.5 hours one way and back just to get to school. Yeah. They don't have a start and finish time because kids could walk in at 12 o'clock and start school. Kids could leave at 6. There's just no start and end time. And she was saying that when this well got donated, all the farmers around where her camp is would come and say, would you please let our cows drink from the well? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. But for every cow that you have, you need to bring me 1 child. If you have 2 boys, I want 2 boys and a girl. Yeah. If you have 1 girl, then I want the 1 girl and 2 boys. And the farmer was like, no, absolutely not. No. Well, then a drought comes around and the cows start dying because they're thirsty. They don't have any water. So then the farmers come back and they go, okay, fine. We'll bring our son, we'll bring our daughter if you let our cows drink. She's like, that's fine. Just bring me the 2 boys or bring me the boy and the girl. Yeah. Let them come to school and the cows can have all the water they want. Yeah. So she's just a boss.
I remember when you came back and you told me that part of the story and I'm like, that is so smart because when they're not willing, like you're saying, some of the families are not willing to change their traditions. And so for her, she's found it's almost like a bartering system.
Absolutely.
Where she's like that, in order for you to get this service, you need to bring your children. Yeah. Which is incredible because that is then changing that cycle.
That's it. And I think that's, in a place like Kenya, it's hard to do because it's just, this goes back generations and generations and generations. And I was saying to one of the girls while we were there, I understand when culture is so embedded in your DNA and it's all you know, it's all you believe. But what my heart couldn't wrap around was how, and again, I say this because I don't have any experience obviously being in that culture, because I do understand how conditioned beliefs can make a person do the things they do. But my heart just couldn't understand how a mother who had that happen to her could a child was about to turn 8, her daughter's about to turn 9. She knows full well what's about to happen and she lets it. Yeah. Like that for me, I just could, and I probably never will. I will never be able to understand it fully. Yeah. But that was just something where I just thought to myself, fuck, how easy do we have it? It puts everything into perspective. And I think that was kind of the moment when being in those classrooms, bawling my eyes out, being like, oh my God, I can't go back home and just do nothing. That was probably the pivotal turning point for me, where I came back home and I just thought, I got no idea how I'm supposed to help. Yeah. But I need to do something. Something is better than nothing at this point. And yeah, that's kind of where we're landed now at the end of 2022.
You know, you've come home. I think it's fair to say you're probably struggling with reintegrating into Western society, like our life. And, you know, how did you, I know I'm lucky enough to know that you've got this great plan of how you want to help Hellen and the kids over there. So how did you come up with the idea? What is the idea?
I actually sat down with Hellen while I was over there. I'd asked our tour guide, Michael, who I became really good friends with, would she be willing to sit down and just share her story with me? I don't know what I'm going to do with this story, but I just feel like people need to hear it. People need to listen to it, because this has the power to at least shift perspectives on some aspect of a person's life. And it's just a message that needs to get out there that this shit is happening. We probably know and feel that it is, but like this is the actual evidence of it happening. And so we sat down and she shared her story, and she's so brilliant when she speaks. And you'll see when the video goes live in January, she's just so articulate. She's so like strong. I was nervous. I don't get nervous talking to people, but she's literally one of the only people in my life that I have ever put up on a pedestal. Like, yeah, I remember Michael saying, yeah, she's agreed to like do the interview. And I was like, what? Oh my God, like sweaty palms. I was like, oh, what? Shit. But then sitting down with her, she has this ease about her, you know? And again, her story doesn't define, it does, but it doesn't define who she is today, you know? So she shared everything, and I said to her during it, look, I know this isn't much, but I'm going to donate money, fine. But I just want to do something more. And I don't know what that more is right now, but I just feel like I could take this story back home and something could happen. And so, again, in my head, I'm thinking, you know, I'm really conscious with what I say I can do, because I don't want to be the white girl that comes into an African village and tries to save the day. That's just, first and foremost, I was like, I can't be that person. So it was more about, what do you want? What's your dream? And I asked her, you know, what is your ultimate dream? And obviously the first thing was that this movement actually makes an impact and this stuff stops happening to the girls in the Masai tribe. But I really want to complete the school, the Tepesura school. Because when you think about it, like the amount of money that needs to be raised for her to run a school that has 200 at-risk girls, that covers food, that covers, you know, board, that covers teachers, supplies, just for that school. Then she has the widows village. Then she has also the eco camp when guests come, you know, food and all of that. And then also this nursery school. It takes 20 Australian dollars a day to feed a child. She has 60 kids at this nursery school. And it has to expand because she can't take any more people in, because she's only got 4 classrooms at the moment. So, you know, as much as the Kenyan government, I believe they do like help out here and there. Intrepid are really great. They also help a lot and donate a lot, and then obviously they get donations throughout, you know, tours coming through. But it's a whole operation. And so her dream was to complete the nursery school and have another 4 classrooms, so there'd be 8 in total. So each classroom has a teacher and a year level. And the way she's already thought how this thing's going to be planned out. She was telling me, she's like, it's going to be like a Masai tribe village, so that when these kids come here, they don't feel displaced. They feel like they're safe. They know that when they come here, they're getting an education. They're going to be in a safe environment. Nothing's going to happen to them. So she's kind of at a point now where, you know, so many people want their kids to go to school, but she doesn't have the capacity now. And the funds as well. So when I spoke to her and asked her what would the overall cost, a ballpark figure, you want the 4 classrooms and a cafeteria or a kitchen of some sort, because the kitchen that they used at that, like when I was there, I was just like, this is not, you can't be like making anything in here. It was so bad that I was blown away. I was like, how is this a thing? Again, the naive white girl going, oh my God. And she told me, and I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make this happen for you.
Did you say this to her?
I said it to her. I was like, I am telling you, I just, there was this overwhelming confidence. Again, when you, I mean, you haven't even seen the video yet, but when you see this woman share this story, it's like, you want to help. There's something in you that's like, I don't know how, but I'm going to help. Yeah. So I said to her, I'm like, I'm going to do my best. When I go home, I'm going to share this story. I'm going to try and raise those funds for you. And I'm sure so many people say that to her.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she'll be like, yep, okay, cool. And I was like, no, but you haven't met me yet. You don't know what I'll do. So then, yeah, that was kind of it. That was just my whole kind of life's purpose shifted at that point. Everything I thought I wanted in life really dramatically shifted. And I'm not just saying that to be like, and then my life changed when I went to Africa. It was like, my fucking life got tipped on its head because I wasn't even meant to be there.
Yeah. And you weren't even meant to go to the school. Like, that's actually really not part of the tour. Yeah.
Too many little coincidences like that happen for me not to notice and be like, shit, I think I'm supposed to do something more. Like, I can't just be on this earth now making YouTube videos weekly about my life. Yeah. No, that is not what I'm supposed to do. If I'm going to have a platform, if I'm going to have people who do respect what I do and say and do listen to me, then I'm going to put something out there that's actually going to not just change your life, but change a generational lineage in some way. So then I came home and that was the plan. I was like, right, now we've got to start raising 120K. Cool.
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah. Mind you, I quit my job as well.
Yeah.
I was like, cool,
Are we mentioning that?
Yeah, well,
some things don't get repeated by Mon. You just keep them under wraps.
Yeah, whatever. But then, I don't know, I had this unwavering confidence. I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, this is all I care about. Again, it's that thing. I obsess over it. Like with getting Kerri to go on this trip to Africa. Yeah. Everyone was like, how'd you do it? I'm like, I just got obsessed with it.
Yeah. You found a way.
I found a way.
Yeah.
I put the effort in. I like what you did there. I put the effort in. I made choices. I made decisions. I took action. And they said yes.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes.
And what is your plan? Like, I know there's loosely a plan because everything changes with Mon on a daily basis. But, you know, I guess as an overarching, you know, you want to raise 120,000. So what are some of the things that you're going to be doing to raise that money?
Yeah. So when's this going live?
On the 2nd, same day as your video.
Oh, okay, great. So after you finish listening to or watching this podcast, so Jan 2nd, which is today, in the future, the GoFundMe campaign is launching with the video that I spoke about where I interviewed Hellen and she shares her story, where we're going to be raising $30,000. So $30,000 will build one classroom. That one classroom will be fully furnished with supplies, and there's probably also the chance that it will sponsor a girl or two to go to school for the year as well. So that's the goal. It's 30K in 30 days. Everyone's like, why 30K in 30 days? I'm like, first of all, they need that money ASAP.
Yeah.
Second of all, it just sounds better.
Yeah.
Like 20K in 30 days. Yeah. Let's just add another 10K. So that's almost like phase one. So my plan is to raise that money. Link will be in the description if you want to go donate. And then once the money's been raised, one thing that I just am so hell-bent on is the transparency piece, because even speaking to people, majority of my friends alone don't trust charities. They just don't. You know, so you say you're going to give to World Vision because they're going to go help a child. Well, what percentage of that money is actually going to the kid? Yeah. So for me, I guess the advantage that I have, I believe, is the storytelling piece of not just going there, getting Hellen's story and showing you like, this is what we're going to be doing, but I want to continue that throughout the whole process. So the plan is going to be, once the money is raised, I'm going to be flying to Kenya to basically hand her the check and say, we're building this first school. And with her blessing, again, don't want to be the white girl that just invades the village. With her blessing, we're going to document the entire process of it being built. How long that's going to take, I don't know, just because of so many different factors over there. But that transparency piece and actually bringing people who want to be part of the story along for the story is something that I feel like I do really well, and it's why people do trust me as a stranger on the internet.
And support you.
You know, like I just believe in this too much for it to fail. Like I just don't see it as I'm not going to get that money. That money's going to be in Hellen's hands by April, and this thing is starting by the end of the year. Like this classroom is being built, if not all 4 classrooms. Like that's how mental and psycho I am with this stuff. And I think it's the start of something bigger. It's definitely the start of what I know I want to do for the rest of my life. And I think that's the difference. It's not, I just want to do this project to just say that I did this. It's like, this is just the beginning. This school, this Hellen story has laid the foundation of what I want to do going forward, which is to empower people, young kids, no matter where they are in the world, you know. And I think more so to show people that change happens when collectively we come together for a cause to just change a person's life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the big thing is, I mean, I've done it before where I think I can't give enough, so I'm not going to give it all. You know, it's going to look shit if I just give $10 because I should really be giving 50. It's like $10 is great. $10 is awesome.
Yeah.
$10 is better than nothing. So also in the back of my mind, I've got this mission to just change the perception of giving.
Yes.
Because I just feel like charities, they just got a bad rap. And I mean, I've seen some terrible ones. I've seen, which I'm sure you have as well. So I think for me, the big factor is going to be setting this whole thing up so it's 100% transparent.
Yeah.
And making sure that everybody that contributes is coming. They're almost going to feel like they know Hellen.
Yeah.
And these kids and this school and this community. You know, and I just think it's really cool that like one community across the world is going to help another community across the world. Yeah. And they might never meet.
Exactly.
And it was proven when we did the 62K walk to help Sancha, who was a friend of mine in Nepal when he was struggling with COVID, be reunited with his son.
Yeah.
There were so many people that listened to that or watched the video and just donated out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Perfect example is good old Greg.
Good old Greg. Where's Greg now?
You know, this literal stranger who I have never met in my life. I've had one email exchange with him after he went through every single one of my YouTube videos and wrote really beautiful notes. And thanks, Greg, on every single video that I did about what he loved about him.
Yeah.
He donated. I think he initially donated about 150 USD.
Yeah.
And then it was like getting to the last day, and I think I had like.
Wasn't it like 700 or something?
I had about $500 or $600 to go. And I woke up in the morning and he basically chipped in the rest plus more just to get me over the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
This person, I've never met this person.
I think that's the thing is that a lot of us, like you said, like some people previously may not have supported charities or they don't know where to start or they, like you said, are a little bit concerned that, $10 isn't going to make a difference.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, being able to show people the individual story and the community story, especially in this case, it brings people along on that journey. It gets them invested and then they want to help and they see the start and the ending, you know what I mean? And they see where their money's gone, they understand the impact it does have, and that only also encourages them to share it with their friends, with their family, with their networks, and then that also builds on it as well. Because we all have this innate sense of wanting to help, but sometimes we don't know how. Like it's too overwhelming because, like you said, there are so many. This is one community in a small part of Africa. Like if we look at that on the grand scale, and everyone has certain, I suppose, not preferences, but things that they're really passionate about. You know, for me, it's animals. For you, it's this. So it's like, where do you drive your investment and your small amount of money that you might have to spend? But when you can see the impact it can have, like that's what makes a difference.
Absolutely. And I think what really annoys me with certain charities, and I think I've said this to you, but like what I don't want to be, is the tactic of guilt and shame. Like I'm going to shame you into donating money and make you feel guilty because you're earning a lot more money than these poor children in Africa. Yeah. Or, you know, these poor animals getting slaughtered who don't know. Like, I think that is where I've always taken a stand, no matter what it was, whether it's this, whether it's any kind of content I've ever produced, it's always talk with people, don't talk at people, because no one respects that.
Yeah.
No one wants to be told what to do, but show them in a way where it's like, you could help be part of this story.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to take you with us. That's different. That's a connection piece. That's a building trust, building community element that I think in the last 5 years has been, whether I've consciously realized it or not, it's been a big focus of mine, because I know what it's like to just be talked at. That's what I want to do, particularly with this GoFundMe and just any kind of charity work that I do going forwards, because the plans that I have for that going forward, which are still kind of in works, it's being relatable, it's being fun as well. Yeah. You know, I think sometimes with certain charities that I look at, I just go, oh my God, you are sucking the life out of life. You know, yes, the cause that you're talking about is important, absolutely. But I look at, again, I go back to Hellen as a person who I'm building everything around. She's fun. She laughs. She has, again, had trauma that's happened to her, but she has this youthful essence in her that is all about curiosity and imagination and playfulness. Yeah. And so there are elements of her and elements of the Te Pasua nursery school that I'm taking and instilling into every kind of touch point of this kind of branding, essentially. It's like I want it to represent this community that started all of this. Yeah. And I think they've just got this thirst for life because they've been given opportunity. And so when I think about what I want to do for people is I want to give you the opportunity to have the thirst for life, to go out and start creating that ripple effect. I help you, you go help someone now. Yeah. And then that person's going to go help, and that's how it happens. So, yeah, it's been quite a year.
Hasn't it ever? Not what you probably thought it was going to be at the start of the year, but that's, you know, been part of the journey.
And that's the coolest part, right? Now I could actually build a platform that's going to actually help other people. And everyone would always say to me, but you do help people, like you get people messaging you, you know, saying that, you know, you've changed your life, whatever. Yeah, okay, great, that's awesome, and I'm humbled by that. But then I could do more. Yeah. And that's my thing now, is like 1% better every single day, and just try to do more and be more for yourself, first and foremost, but for other people as well.
And that's something like I did want to ask you, is that anyone that's lucky enough to know you knows that you have this real passion for always following like your intuition and things that you are passionate and driven for. So, you know, for anyone in the community, that it may be like a humanitarian cause, it may be something else, but you know, like what is your advice to them in terms of if they have something that they've been passionate about, that, you know, really channeling that a year to live, you know, if someone thought that they only had a year to live and they want to take a leap towards something, like what's your advice for them to do that?
It's actually my question that I'm asking myself next year. When all is said and done, will I have said more than I've done?
Ooh, this is new, Mon. Sharing, I like it.
That's it.
First.
That's literally it. If you sit and think about that question, when all is said and done, meaning when you're on your deathbed, will I have said more than I have done?
Yeah.
So will I have written a bucket list and never done any of it?
Yeah.
But I'd written it. Had I said I was going to go and raise this money to, you know, build this school in Africa, yeah, I said it, but did I go and do it?
Yeah.
Did I at least try to do it?
Yeah.
You know, because there's a difference, right? You could try to do it and then realize, actually, this is not what I want to do. And then the path changes. That's different. But it's in the trying. It's in the willingness to try. And accepting that you might fuck it up in the process. You might be led astray. You might, you know, think, oh my God, why? Yeah. But at least you know.
Yeah.
So I think anybody who has this passion or this desire to do something, no matter what it is, ask yourself that question. And if that stings, then great. It means that you're either not following your intuition or you know you want to. And I guess the next steps would be look at the people around you. Like, who is telling you that you can't do this thing or go for this thing? Now, I look at the people I have around me now, like yourself. There is not a single person in my close group of friends that would ever tell me that I couldn't do something. first and foremost, I've proven that, well, I'm fucking insane enough to think I can, so I probably will, but not a single person around me that I speak to on the regular, that I would tell something to, wouldn't get excited for me and be like, well, you're going to go do that.
Yeah.
And that's taken a lot of time. Like, I used to people please like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
To feel accepted and validated. Now I'm like,
yeah,
I don't need that. I've done enough in in the past, 5 or 6 years where I've just managed to cull the wrong people out and created this environment around myself where there's no lack mindset. There's no, I can't do this because it's like, this is going to be hard, but I'm going to give it a crack anyway. And I'm going to learn shit from it, and then I'm going to go about it a different way.
Yeah.
So I think noticing and taking, or stock taking the people that are around you, whether it is family, whether it is your friends, whether it is your partner, whoever, and just starting to draw those lines and those boundaries to be like, you know what, if I'm going to go after this thing, this dream, this vision, this idea, I need the right people around me. There's that quote, what is it? You become first it's you're a product of your environment, and then it's you become like the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. I believe that through and through because I've been in those positions.
Yeah.
Where I was surrounded by people who only ever wanted the, white picket fence life. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want, that's great. I don't want that. At least not now.
Not now.
So to be around people like that, it frustrates the living shit out of me because I'm like, oh my God, but there's more to life for this age. Like, you could be doing more. But that's what they want, and that's cool. So then it's like, well, okay, I just need to find the group of people that are willing to go out and try new things and do new things and are going to get me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Back to your question, I would say asking yourself that question, when all's said and done, will I have said more than I have done? And looking at the people around you, and then just believe. Believe that you can, because you absolutely can. Limitations are just opinions of other people.
Yeah.
And if you take on those limitations as fact, as yours, you're just taking on someone else's opinion.
Yeah.
Meaning you're listening to too many people who know nothing about you.
And as everyone can see from this is why she's my friend. Because she's one of these people. But no, I really wanted to share this story with my community because I think it will resonate with a lot of people, both from the perspective of obviously we want to help, as you're vegan as well, we are empaths and we're people that feel other people and animals suffering and pain and want to do something about it. So I think there will be a portion of my community that wants to support that. But also as well, I really do want people to see that, no matter what your passion is, there's always a way to, start working on it, to do everything you possibly can. And like you said, you may try, you may fail, but you also may try and you may succeed. You may go above and beyond your own expectations. So yeah, it's really something that I hope that everyone in the community gets behind because like you've said, you are an incredible storyteller and I know that you'll give this your 110% and we'll really make sure that Hellen gets all the support she needs. And
can I just say quickly, just jumping in, your community is phenomenal because I had the privilege of watching them back you when you raised the money for the rhino sanctuary.
Yeah.
And whether you realize it or not, you are a change maker. I've said this to you so many times. I respect you so much because you believe in what you believe in for a cause, for the greater good, so much. And I honestly haven't met, and this is why you're one of my people. I've never met someone who's just like, shut up, I'm still going to go and do the thing. It's just, it takes thick skin, and especially with what you are so passionate about, people can come in and absolutely rip you to shreds, but you have so much love and compassion for what you do. It's admirable.
Thank you. Yeah, well, you were one of the first people that I called and said, so I've got this idea. Like you've said, there's a few people you have in your life that you will share some of the crazy ideas with, and you're one of those people. And I'm very lucky that you do a lot of the same for me. So thank you so much. But yeah, I really, I know that there's not a doubt in my mind that this is going to succeed, and I actually think it far surpassed your expectations, to be honest. I do remember there has been a saying, you have mentioned there probably more than one school, and I can definitely see that in the future. So yeah, I just guess everyone, like, we really want you to jump across. The video, like Mon said, the video will go live at the same day that this episode goes live.
Today.
Yeah, today. So yeah, I'm really keen that everyone jumps across, watches it.
Yeah, so over the month of Jan, basically what I'm doing is I'm treating it like a social, it is a social campaign, where just a series of videos are going to get released speaking about Hellen's story, and just ways you can donate, where the money will go, what it's going to do, how much, $5. Because this is the other thing. People think that $5 doesn't do much. $5 does do a lot. $5 here will get you a long black. Small long black. Very, very small long black. But $5 over there is going to buy a child at this school 4 storybooks.
Yeah.
That they're going to be obsessed with.
Yeah. And it's going to make a difference in
It's
their
going to
life.
make a difference, right?
Yeah.
And I keep saying this to people, like, even $5 is better than nothing. And I think a really big misconception, especially with giving, there's that people-pleasing element to it, where it's like, oh, if I give $10, I'm going to look like a shit person. No, you're not. You just gave $10. Like, that's awesome. That is sick. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people that thinks, like, all I can give right now is $5,
yeah.
$5 is great.
Yeah.
Because what happens when 500 people give $5?
Exactly. Yeah, or 500 people give nothing.
I keep saying 30,000 people give $1.
Yeah.
That's $30,000.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, that's what I'm trying to break in people, is like that perception that it's just not enough. It's like, yeah, maybe here when you're buying $10 $5 coffees every day, it looks like it's just going into thin air.
Yeah.
But take that to a different country where it can be put to use for a whole different reason. It's going to do a lot.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing with this campaign in Jan is I just want to show people what can actually happen when social media is used for good, and it's backed with kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
And with this purpose of, again, not just changing lives, like this is changing generational lineages.
Yeah.
Because these kids go to school, they have this whole new pathway in life. They go to become teachers, tour guides, scientists, lawyers, whatever it might be. They do the same thing for their kid.
For their kids, yeah.
Their kid gets an education. Yeah. Their kid then gets to go and choose what life they want. Like that's the part where it's like you have no idea where your $5 could go. So yeah, that's the whole of Jan. So it's going to end on the 31st of Jan.
And at that point, it will be over 30,000.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to say we're going to be at like 80K.
All right. Oh, here we go. She's very competitive.
I just believe in it. That's all. Like, I really do believe. I believe in people, I believe in the good in people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And to finish up, I guess, tell us, I believe that you have something like a little bit of a motto you're living by with this new campaign. Yeah. What would that be, Mon?
Where there is a will, there is always a way.
Yep.
And I think if you tell yourself that enough, like, it just becomes a part of who you are. Because it's true, when hard things happen, sure, they're hard, but you're here, you survived it. So there's always going to be a way around any kind of, whatever it might be, adversity, challenge, obstacle. There's always a way. You just need to be willing enough to try.
Yeah. And I think for you, like, for a lot of people, they might see that as very airy-fairy, but there's been a number of circumstances over the last 2-3 years for you where that has, like, I suppose if you had that motto and that mindset, and it has paid off for you. There's been many things, physical challenges, like mental challenges, and I think that's why you are so determined that this is going to happen, and it will happen because you've proved it to yourself before. And I think that's really important to highlight, because often, we can think, oh yeah, that's really nice, it's a bit touchy-feely, but how's it going to happen? But I think, really there's that focus of really dedicating yourself to it, and you will achieve it. So yeah. And
the last thing I'll say, I think the bigger thing is, like, this has actually nothing to do with me. Like, this has everything to do with Hellen and the school. Yeah. And I think when you start to, and this has been a massive shift that I've noticed within myself in the last 2 years, when you start doing things for other people, with other people in mind, it's the first law of wealth, the law of service. When you start serving others, with the intention that is pure and has the kindness, the love and the compassion attached to it, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's going to happen because everything that you're doing is pulling in the right people. Is, you know, whether it is the funds, it's going to come. Like there have been instances in the past few weeks where things have happened that have solidified in me. Like this is already happening. It's not a matter of, oh, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's already happening. And it's just now a snowball effect that I just have to ride out. And build this hype around because I know more people are going to want to get around it because it's a fucking sick thing. We're building a school in Africa. Like, it's not a small thing. We're doing this together. One community from one side of the world to another community. And like, I would love to get to a point where, you know, people who do contribute and contribute greatly to this, to be able to take them over, to show them this is what you did, like this is what we did, this is what you did. Your contribution helped this happen. Yeah. And I think it's really special. I mean, I can already see it. I'm a very visionary person, as you know. I can already see me taking a group of people over there being like, look at this. Like, do you see this? Like this is, you know, and there's the 8 classrooms all mapped out in the village that she has it mapped out. Like the kids are like running everywhere and yeah, I think when the vision's too, like strong like that, it's, like I said, it's already happening.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mon. We are going we're going to obviously link everything in the show notes. And also I'll be sharing like when you do your reels and things that week to get it all out there, I'll be sharing those as well through the community. And I know that most of the people who follow me follow you anyway, but if not, make sure you jump across to Mon's YouTube and social media, even though you're not as active on it, but I'm sure for this little bit you will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, jump across to yours is at Mon Medved.
Something like that.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. But yeah, I'm really excited for this, and yeah, as you know, you've always got my backing 110%, and I can't wait to see how this all goes for dear Hellen and the community over there. So thank you so much.
And thank you for letting me share this because, like I've said, I'm very passionate about this, about Hellen's story, and like your community, they're amazing. I've seen firsthand what they're able to do when they band together to support someone that they respect and they love. And I mean, if any of you guys donate, know from the bottom of my heart, from the sincerest part of my being, I appreciate it. And like I said, $5, $10, it doesn't matter. It's all going to a really, really worthy cause and a woman who really deserves it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, love.
Thank you.